Hey, you guys, I'm going to give you 10 more lit terms. This is kind of an enrichment activity to get us from the end of trimester two to the beginning of trimester three, which I just heard is going to be starting on April 13th. So let's take a look at these 10 words. I'm going to go kind of quickly, and if you end up having any questions, you can send me an email or you can post me a little video in Flipgrid. Number one, context. So when we're talking about context, we're talking about trying to make sense of a part of something by understanding everything that's around it. The parts of something written or spoken that immediately precede and follow a word or a passage, and that helps to clarify meaning. So, for example, word processing is affected by the context in which words appear. Number two, denouement. Denouement is the final part of a play, movie, narrative, or story in which the strands of the plot are all drawn together and matters are explained or resolved. So, in other words, denouement is the resolution, it's how the story resolves. Deus ex machina. I put this video in here to make sure that I was saying it correctly.
Deus ex machina. Deus ex machina. Deus ex machina.
All right, we get the idea. So Deus ex machina refers to an implausible concept or character being brought into a story in order to resolve a conflict or bring about a happy ending. The use of Deus ex machina is generally considered bad writing. It suggests that the author needed to resort to some miraculous or random thing in order to bring the story where he needed it to go. An example of possibly of Deus Ex Machina is Bard the Bowman, the character from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. He's a guy from Lake Town, and he's a descendant of the ancient lords of Dale. Bard manages to kill Smaug the dragon, after which he's made the King of Dale. Well, Tolkien seems to have created this character specifically to kill Smaug. He doesn't show up in the story anytime before this, and then he ends up being the guy who kills the dragon instead of one of the other heroes of the story. Some suggest that Bard the Bowman may have been inspired by Wiglaf from the Anglo-Saxon poem Beowulf. Even so, many consider this an example of Deus ex machina. Digression. Digression is a temporary departure from the main subject in a speech or writing. So, Holden Caulfield, for example, the main character in Catcher in the Rye, frequently strays from what he's talking about to topics that seem unrelated, but these digressions give us insight into the character. Doppelganger. A doppelganger is a double, a twin, an evil twin, maybe. Joseph Conrad uses a doppelganger theme in his short story, The Secret Sharer. In this story, Laggett, the ex-skipper of a ship, acts as a doppelganger of the captain. The captain discovers Laggett swimming in the sea naked, helps him come aboard, and gives him some clothes to wear. The men have both similarities and dissimilarities. Laggett, who's full of calmness and self-confidence, helps the captain get rid of his uncertainties and apprehensions. And in fact, Laggett ends up being the other self of the captain who he had always failed to discover until that point. Double entendre. A double entendre is a word or phrase open to two interpretations. One is usually a little risque or maybe even indecent. Odysseus is caught and imprisoned by the Cyclops, for example, and when the Cyclops asks his name, Odysseus tells him that his name is Nobody. When Odysseus then later stabs the Cyclops in the eye and escapes, the Cyclops cries out at the top of his voice, "Nobody has hurt me! Nobody is killing me!" Here, Odysseus cleverly used the word nobody, and it ended up having a double entendre, two meanings. Elision. Elision is the omission of sound or syllables in words. For example, I'm is the same as I am, but you take out a sound. Or let's is the same as let us. And Ian, in Shakespeare, we hear this word a lot. The V sound gets removed. Ian means even. I always ask, does library work? Take the R sound out? I'm going to say no. In media res. In media res is the idea that a lot of stories start right in the middle of things. Many stories do this, including Beowulf. It doesn't talk about the beginning of Grendel, like where does Grendel come from? All of a sudden, this monster is just attacking. Kennings. Kennings are a twist of words, figure of speech, or a newly created compound sentence or phrase to refer to a person, an object, a place, an action, or an idea. So usually kennings are seen in Old English, Germanic, or Old Norse poetry. Kennings are metaphors. For example, oarsteed is a kenning for ship. It's sort of a metaphorical, interesting way to say ship. Kennings are rare in modern day language, but Beowulf had a bunch of them. They included battle sweat, which meant blood, sky candle, which meant sun, whale road, which meant ocean, and light of battle, which meant sword. In the end, each clan on the outlying coasts beyond the whale road had to yield to him and begin to pay tribute. That was one good king. And our last word, I'm going to actually squeeze 3 words into one. Rhetorical shift, turn, and volta. A rhetorical shift is a change in linguistic tone that can be signaled by a transition word like but, or however, or then. A rhetorical shift can be a change in a story, or in the tone of a story, or an idea or concept. Rhetorical turn has to do with the recognition that language is not a neutral medium and that our choice of words matters. To say that a glass is half empty is not the same as saying that it's half full. It's been distinguished from the linguistic turn primarily through its stronger anti-objectivism and its emphasis on the loadedness of language. And third, a volta is in a sonnet, it's the turn of thought or argument. In other words, in a Petrarchan sonnet or Italian sonnet, it occurs between the octave and the sestet. And in Shakespearean or English sonnets, the volta occurs before the final couplet. So a sonnet's going to propose a problem or kind of a something that needs to be a situation that needs to be solved, and then the volta comes when the speaker of the poem gives a resolution, like answers the question or kind of solves the problem. That's volta. So rhetorical shift, turn, volta, and those are your new 10 words.